Our next story takes us back to England, where for centuries pubs and inns have been a popular gathering place, and the locals flirted with young barmaids. Not far from here, legend has it, one such barmaid remains, suspended in time, pining for the very love that ultimately caused her death.
On a hill near Wickham, England, a young woman stood waiting expectantly. In the cool night near the Hellfire Caves, her patience prevailed. 2 centuries later, the young woman still lingers. Her tragic tale traces back to the 1700s, when the George and Dragon Inn was a favorite place for travelers to stop over on their way through the town. At this inn, a pretty young woman served in the pub. She was known to the locals simply as Suki.
She was very young, very attractive, very popular with the local lads.
A sophisticated young gentleman used to make regular visits to this inn. His eye caught the attractive young barmaid. It wasn't long before Suki had fallen head over heels for this charming stranger.
She imagined that she was going to be whisked away and by this young gentleman.
The local boys didn't like the fact that Suki was all starry-eyed about this stranger. It took her attention away from them. One day, Suki received a note out of the blue, saying that she must wait at the Hellfire Caves for her darling that same night. Suki was ecstatic. She believed that this was the beginning of a new life.
And he was going to marry her. She packed her things and wore a white dress and snuck up to the hill and waited for him. And the local lads then jumped out from behind a tree, and she realised that it was a joke, cool joke that they'd played on her.
This letter, which was meant as a good-natured prank by the young locals, turned into disaster.
She picked up some stones and started throwing them at the lads, at which point they probably threw a few back, and one hit her on the head.
Suki was knocked out. In a frenzy, the young locals carried the unconscious girl back to her room at the George and Dragon Inn. It is here, in room number 6, where she died later that night.
And she has haunted the inn since then, and wearing white, and known as the White Lady.
Philip and his wife Cass ignored the strange happenings around the inn, until one day when their son James, then only 4 years old, told his mom about a new guest.
Mom, there's a ghost up in my room. And she goes, oh, don't be stupid, there's no such thing as ghosts.
James made a sketch of his visitor. Something about this drawing made his parents ponder the strange possibilities. His drawing is that of a woman. On the side of her head, he had drawn a prominent band-aid, the exact place where the stone had hit Suki in the head. James casually accepts the regular visits from the lady in white.
She usually comes to see me at night, and she lives up in the attic, and sometimes when my friends come around, she hides from them.
She's really been not a scary ghost, but a mischievous ghost. A lot of household items go missing. We've had guests that have encountered her.
Well, she likes this place. She likes the attic especially, that's why she lives up there.
James' encounters with this mysterious lady don't frighten him. As a matter of fact, James has found a comforting companion in her. But there is another side to this unusual story. A terrifying history lies behind the Hellfire Caves, where Suki was supposed to meet her Prince Charming. At the time, a group from high society used these caves as a place of worship. Here, concealed to the outer world, they could pray to Satan in secret. this group was known as the Hell's Fire Club. Long, eerie corridors lead to secret little corners where the club members carried out satanic rituals at night. Inside the caves, carvings of evil faces line the walls, drawn 2 centuries ago by these Satanists. Nobody knew who the members of the club were. In fact, they could have even been regular visitors at the inn. A bizarre twist to this strange love story is that one of the Hell's Fire Club's members was a regular at the George and Dragon Inn. He was none other than the charming stranger who had swept Suki off her feet. We'll never know why Suki cannot find peace. Surely her presence isn't disturbing or frightening to anyone. Perhaps she just can't leave the one place she had found hope and a glimpse at happiness.
As settlers flocked west during the gold rush, mining towns boomed and many greedy, often unscrupulous businessmen made their fortune, not in gold, but on the good luck of others. One such man left as his legacy the hotel he built and a bit of himself. Centuries later, they say guests who frequent the hotel never check out without an encounter with the infamous Mr. Lager himself.
Nothing at first seemed to really happen, but as I was sleeping, I felt not a malevolent presence, but as if someone was in the room. And then I heard a creaking, and as I glanced out of the corner of my eye, I saw the rocking chair moving, and I just laughed.
The Old West. A place where cowboys rode the terrain, saloons were the entertainment, and gunslingers became legends. But it was also a time that fostered and opened the floodgates for prosperity. It was 1849, the year of the California gold rush. The lure of instant wealth was like a magnet which drew thousands to the west. And over a century later, you can still find what remains of these old mining towns. The Lager Hotel in Mokelumne Hill, California, is one such place. A piece of the past left behind by George W. Lager, a sharp businessman who took advantage of the flourishing moment and reaped in large profits. Profits which, after he died, some say George refused to leave behind.
Just stories of articles moving around or being misplaced, or thinking you set something down in one place and you search around the whole room crazy for this one article, and then you look back and it's in the exact same spot where you thought you had left it.
George W. Lager came to California in response to the gold rush, but he didn't seek his fortune in the precious yellow metal.
I guess he was probably a real shrewd business person. Instead of digging for gold and working on a whim, he built a hotel and apparently made money.
In fact, Lager made a great deal of money. His primary income came from newly rich miners who lived and gambled away their fortunes at his hotel. But that wasn't the only way Lager filled his pockets.
He was a kind of a loan shark too, I guess, if you will, sort of a thing during the gold rush.
And it was his less than above-board banking methods that caused more than a few people to hate the man. Lager lived in room number 7, where he could keep a close watch on business. He was almost never without a cigar or a beautiful woman, the envy of practically every man in town. George Lager had it all. But then suddenly, one day, it was all gone.
George was a cigar smoker. There won't be anybody up there, and sometimes you get a whiff of cigar smoke. Room 7 seems to catch the most of the weird things, the unexplainable little things, with the doors closing, the ruffles of the beds, and cigar smoke.
It is unclear who killed Lager. It might have been a miner who felt Lager duped him out of his hard-earned gold, or maybe it was a jilted paramour. One thing is certain, though. Today, room number 7 at the Lager Hotel comes with more than just a view.
The lady that used to be the maid here before I bought the place has quite a few stories of the pillows getting thrown out of the room after she cleaned the room.
People have talked about
hearing steps in the hallway when they're in the rooms at night, yet they're the only guests here, and people don't roam around because we lock it up at night.
Lager's ghost has only rarely been seen. One of the few people to actually witness the apparition was the 10-year-old son of a woman who bought the